How are we going, everyone? I'm going to show you a couple of tips here on how to germinate your seedlings, whether they're winter varieties or spring or summer varieties, how you can get them on germinating a lot quicker than just by putting them straight in the ground or even just in the tray on their own. I am going to use our little tray here. This is the tray from the mini hothouse. I've taken the lid off. You can use the lid as well if you like. Now, there are no holes in this one here. Now, I've planted in here in the past without the holes using cocoa pith, which is this stuff here. This is the cocoa coir. Let me just get that staple out of the way. Have a look at this. How nice is this stuff, huh? There's a little bit of fibre in it, thicker fibre that is, but it's really fine overall, and it's a great medium to grow plants in. It doesn't get too heavy. This is really damp now, and if this was potting mix, it would be at least twice the weight. Right, so it's in a clean skin bag, so hence we can keep the prices right down. This is a little 5 litre bag, which should be just enough to fill up one tray, just like that there. We've done this in the past, haven't we? You all know how to do this. Now, what you can add to this if you like, and before you tip it into the tray, ideally you should do it in the bag, and that is the superfood fines, which is the fertiliser, because we do have the pelletised version as well. Now, this is beautiful, just a handful over the top like that, and you ruffle it in. Mix it through like that. It doesn't need a lot. These are seedlings, and in fact you really shouldn't have to fertilise, but this small amount that I've just applied there is not a lot, and in fact it's just going to release enough nutrients to help the little seedlings grow once they germinate. You don't need to feed them too much or at all at the beginning whilst they're just a seed stage, but the way we're going to get these to germinate, we need to put the fertiliser straight away, because it ain't going to take 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It's going to take a couple of days. Now, what I mean by a couple of days, so I've done it in this single tray, no holes in this, or you can go into the 32 cell pot like that. Now, you can use Jiffy pots and Jiffy cups as well, or the cocoa cups that we have, or go directly into this and throw your compost like that. Let me make a mess, huh? No, we'll do it this way. How's this? How good are we here? Ready? Oh. Nearly got it. Don't need as much. All right, so that's our 32 cell tray, which has got the holes in it. Now, ideally, the 32 cell tray, or even the 72, this one here, can sit in this. It's not the perfect fit. 2 different companies make them, but it does sit in there well enough to be stable for you to be able to grow your plants. And the reason why we sit it in there, because it can hold a little bit of water, a little reservoir of water down there, which basically becomes a wicking style bed or planter, if you like. Let's just get this out of the way here, folks. Now, to speed up the process, most of you will have these. I'll use these from here on, this winter onwards. I'm just taking the new one out of the packet here. These are the heat mats and thermostats. Now, what I want to do here is just do a second test on this to make sure that it actually gets up to the right temperature. Now, it does show a reading in Fahrenheit and Celsius, so let's just turn it on to start with and show you this. All right, so now we're reading 16.7 degrees in Celsius, okay? Let's see if I can change it. Is that the button I press? So it's set to 32 degrees. That's the setting on it. And at the moment it's currently 17.2. That's the little probe that does the reading. Now, what I've got here with the cocoa coir that's moist, it's actually quite cold. Let's quickly test it. All right, we've gone up to 18, 9, it's at 19 degrees out here. Really, the sun's shining. Well, let's just stick it in here and see what temperature it gets down to. All right, we're down to 17.6 already. Have a look at that, 17.5. So it is dropping quite quickly in temperature. We'll leave that there to go for a little bit longer while we set up the next stage. Now, the next stage is the heat mat. So that's a thermostat, folks. That takes the reading, temperature reading of whatever you're growing there, whether it's a pot plant, a tray, whether it's a little seedling tray, not these large ones because they come in different sizes. Oh, look at this little fancy thing. I didn't get a little carry bag last time I got one of these. This is the new batch, eh? Nice. All right, it got me by surprise. In here we have what I believe is our heat mat. Now the heat mat is in measurements, it's a 50, it's on here actually. It should be, well, 10, which is 25 by 50, so it's 50 by 25 centimetres. One long tray or a couple of little seedling trays you can put on this. So the typical seedling trays you get at your local garden centres. Now let's just plug this up because that's what it is for. It gets the power to it. We're down to 16 degrees. Now the reason I'm showing you this is that we need to get the soil temperature to sit around 16 degrees comfortably, maximum 18, no more than that for our winter crop, and even if you want to sow an early crop for springtime. Tomatoes and things like that, capsicums too, tomatoes, capsicums, cucumbers, the three main ones, maybe basil. Tomatoes in particular will start around June. So the growers out there who are supplying the garden centres, in fact, I reckon some of them already got seedlings for those people who've got hothouses at home. So we're talking in the colder regions of Australia. If you're going up north in Queensland, by now you'll be planting your tomatoes in the ground because that's the perfect time. Winter is when you grow your tomatoes. Spring, summer is when we grow our tomatoes. So down here in Victoria, and probably sort of southern parts of New South Wales and South Australia, our growers are already planting, if not already growing, seedlings. Now, if you want to start off early as well and get your tomatoes into the ground by the end of August, early September, if you're in a nice, warm, temperate environment or a cooler region, but a protected environment, and I'm referring to the microclimate in your garden, then you can start now. So I've just plugged this up, and you can see it's starting to open up because it's not rolling up anymore, so it's heating up beautifully. It's 16.2 degrees. I am going to sit this under this little mat out in the open, folks. You know, we haven't got the hothouse in here, we haven't got the mini lid on as well. All we want to do is heat up the soil temperature. We're not too worried about the night temperature at the moment. If it gets frosty at nights, obviously take them in or keep your lid on it. And ideally, these are great to be kept on a veranda, morning sun, windowsill if you have, or a bench top somewhere in a garage where they can get some sunlight but away from the cold wintry nights, especially the windy nights. So we're sitting at 16.2, okay? Now, what this has got to do is raise the temperature in there by sitting on the heat mat. Now, it's always good to do a second test to verify that the thermostat is working well. I'm pulling out a compost thermometer here. It's got a little probe. And by the way, when you see little red things like that or orange or yellow on the end of them, there are a little protection cap on them, and they actually do affect its ability to read. Even though you can take the reading through there, it's good to get the end off it as well, because like the 4-in-1 that we have, it's got a long cap on it, and a lot of people have left it on and they were expecting it to get a reading and it wasn't working. So remove the end cap on that. That is at 16.2. This is sitting at 21 degrees at the moment. This is not deep enough for it to take a reading, but let's see if we can. 19, it's dropping. It is actually dropping slowly. 17, look at that, it's getting down to 16. If I'm not mistaken, yes it is, 16. So we're verifying the measurement on the thermostat, and that's sitting at 16. In actual fact, this one's going a little bit lower there. We're almost hitting on 15. So we're pretty close there. We're about a degree off there, folks. And remember, this has got a long probe here as well. It's not just the tip that takes the reading. You can actually get a reading down to here as well. So we're about 15, let's say 16. So the reading's perfect. That's verifying it for you. Now, all you need to do is sow your seeds, liquid feed it, and place it somewhere protected so it doesn't get blown away by the weather. We'll put a lid on it as well to create a mini hothouse, and then sit back and watch the magic happen. I'm going to leave this here for a while I go do some gardening, come back and test it in about an hour to see how warm it's turned up on the heat mat at the base. It is warm. I can feel the heat. Now it's just got to transfer over into the soil, and that way we can germinate our seeds. So if we can sit it at night time around 16, you're laughing, you'll get your seeds germinating in night time, but just make sure you protect them, because if it's really cold outside, they may go backwards. Remember what happened to me last year? I lost 2 batches because it got too cold at night. Outside, that is. I should have taken them into the bedroom with the missus. You can find all this on our website, Vasili'sGarden.com, heat mats and thermostats and whatever you need, even the trays and the cocoa coir. Vasili'sGarden.com, from me, Vasili Maresi.